he turned into a 12-year-old kid.
So she slits her own throat.
I know. A wild way to start, right? But those two lines get right to the heart of what we're diving into today. The stories that make us who we are. From the ones that build our childhoods to the ones that tap into our deepest, darkest fears. So, let's start with a creator whose name you probably don't know, but whose work, I guarantee you know his work. I'm talking about Andrew Gunn, a Hollywood producer whose recent passing just pulled back the curtain on this incredible, hidden legacy that has touched millions.
Now, you might look at him and think one thing, but the people who really knew him, they called him the softest, gooeyest man on the inside. He passed away from ALS at just 58, way too young. And he left behind not just his family, but a body of work that quietly shaped a whole generation.
Okay, so let's get into it. Just look at this list. Are you kidding me? Freaky Friday? The one with Lindsay Lohan? The absolute cult classic Sky High? Eddie Murphy in The Haunted Mansion? Come on. For so many of us, these aren't just movies. They're like actual core memories. And Andrew Gunn, he was the guy behind the curtain, the architect, making it all happen.
But his impact, it goes so much deeper than just the films he made. And it all comes down to this number, 5. What's 5? Well, that's the number of up-and-coming screenwriters he handpicked to mentor every single year for the Disney Writers program he started. Think about that. He literally launched the careers of the people who gave us hits like Elf and even The Terminal List. So you see, his legacy wasn't just about what he built, it was about who he built up.
Okay, so we're going to pivot hard now. We're moving from the real-world magic of making movies to these fictional worlds that sometimes feel even more real and a whole lot scarier.
And that brings up a really interesting question, right? What happens when what we're watching starts to reflect our own darkest obsessions back at us? Well, that question is basically the entire premise of a show that just unleashed one of the wildest, most chaotic finales I've seen in a long time. Yeah, we're talking about The Beauty on FX. Okay, get ready for this premise because it's nuts. There's this drug, right? It's called The Beauty, and it literally makes you, well, physically perfect. The catch, at first, was that it was an STD. Yeah, so super unstable. But in the finale, the creator just goes, you know what, forget it, and releases an airborne version to the entire world.
So, remember those lines from the very beginning? The ones that made you go, what? Yep, they're from this finale. He turned into a 12-year-old kid. That's a main character whose dose of the beauty goes catastrophically wrong. And so she slits her own throat? That's the creator's wife. She gets injected against her will, and she's so horrified at losing herself, who she's always been, that she tries to take her own life. It's dark.
And this is where it gets really chilling. Look at the promise versus the reality. The company selling this stuff, they're bragging about an 83% success rate. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, that is until you read the fine print. 450,000 incidents. And incidents means people turning into monsters, turning back into kids, or way, way worse. It's this absolutely terrifying commentary on what it costs to chase perfection.
You know, one of the actors on the show, Jeremy Pope, I think he summed it up perfectly. He said, you think it's a love story, until it's not, then it becomes a horror show. And that's exactly it. It pulls you in with this promise, playing on all our real-life anxieties about how we look, and then, bam, it just rips the rug out from under you and becomes this gut-wrenching body horror nightmare. It's a really dark mirror to hold up.
All right, from horror that feels real, let's talk about a reality that is real. We're heading into the world of TV's longest and maybe greatest social experiment, Survivor.
So for its massive 50th season, 50, they're bringing back the legends. And of course, that means this guy, Ozzy Lust. This is his 5th time playing. His Survivor career has spanned 2 decades. That's insane. We all know him. He's an absolute beast in challenges. He can catch fish for the whole tribe, but he's always had that one fatal flaw. His social game is just not there.
But after all this time, you think maybe, just maybe, he's finally figured it out? For season 50, what's his big new strategy? He's teaming up with Siri Fields. Yes, the Siri Fields, one of the greatest social minds the game has ever seen. The same woman who engineered his blind side years ago. It's wild. He's actually adapting, trying to cover his weakness. He's evolving?
But this is Survivor, right? And on Survivor, the past is never dead. In the exact same episode that he's talking about evolving, his old arch-nemesis, Coach Wade, gets him. Coach gets his revenge for a grudge that's been stewing for over a decade and betrays Ozzy in a challenge. It's just a brutal lesson that in these huge epic sagas, old habits, and old rivalries, they die hard, if they die at all.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. We've got a beloved movie producer, a super dark sci-fi horror show, and a reality show that's been on for 25 years. I mean, what in the world could these three things possibly have in common? Well, here's where it all clicks into place. They're not random at all. They're all about the power of stories. Think about it. First, you have the unseen architects, right? The Andrew Guns of the world, who literally build the worlds we escape into as kids. Then, you have the cultural mirrors, those dark fantasies like The Beauty that reflect our biggest societal fears right back at us. And finally, you have the human experiments. We watch these decades-long sagas like Survivor to see the big themes of our own lives. Loyalty, betrayal, trying to change, all played out on this epic scale.
So, when you boil it all down, it doesn't matter if it's a Disney movie, a crazy horror show, or a reality TV challenge. These are the frameworks we use to figure out who we are and what our world is all about. Which leaves me with one final question. For you, what are the stories, real or totally fictional, that have had the biggest impact on making you, well, you? Drop a comment below and let us know.